Since he decided to take over that formerly esteemed position, we have gotten the war on DEI. We've gotten the war on women. Huh? What? Say what now? FYI, the majority of white women in the military voted for Trump. You know what I mean? I'm out here trying to help y'all. I'm out here trying to help me, help you. Help me, help you.
Help me, help you.
Shout out to all the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and this is Who Raised Y'all, where we highlight those unique individuals going above and beyond to make society worse.
First and foremost, in our department, we're reviving the warrior ethos. We're eliminating distractions and debris. No more DEI, no more dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship, social justice, or political correctness. We're done with all that garbage. We're done with our diversity is our strength, which is the single dumbest phrase in military history.
You know, the kinds of people you'll see asking to speak to the manager at the pearly gates.
I want to talk to the manager.
Well, y'all saw it.
President Trump just named Bill Pulte to take over as acting director of national intelligence after Tulsi Gabbard announced her plans to resign at the end of this month. What do we know about Pulte?
Well, certainly. This did come as a surprise and has already sparked criticism among Democrats and even skepticism among some Republicans about what qualifications Bill Pulte has. Now, he is the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He was the head of Fannie Mae and of Freddie Mac. And he had been seen as an ally of the president who used some of the information as heading that agency to go after and to urge investigations into President Trump's perceived political enemies. But again, he has no previous qualifications in intelligence, again, leading to some fresh criticism from critics of the administration.
There I was minding my own business today, preparing for my live. I had quite a bit that I wanted to discuss, not the least of which was Idris Elba getting knighted. Congratulations to Sir Stringer Bell. I don't know what the Barksdales would have said, but congratulations to him.
I want you to put the word out there that we back up.
I was preparing for my live, and I go see that Trump has enraged the GOP House and Senate. And I thought it had to do with the weaponization fund, because they've been mad about that for a minute. But no, this was fresh. You know, why be mad about some old stuff that ain't been rectified when you got something fresh? They're calling it the worst nomination Trump has ever made when he named Bill Pulte to take over as the director of national intelligence. A man with no intelligence experience whatsoever.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Do you know how hard that is to call it the worst nomination Trump has ever made? Do you know how hard that is?
You know, I'm like a guy with vision. I have an instinct for this.
Do you know how hard that is? He named Mark Wayne Mullen the head of DHS off a plumber certificate. My man was out here serving in the U.S. Congress, and during his breaks, he was servicing people's homes. because that's what he's been trained to do. That's what he got in his blood.
Hi, I'm Mark Wayne Mullen with Mullen Plumbing. The Red Ritter, do you have a stool that just doesn't flush right?
And he just took over for the lady that was nominated, despite the fact that she thought that shooting a dog was a flex.
Flashback.
I hated that dog, Noam writes, adding that Cricket had proved herself, quote, untrainable, dangerous to anyone she came in contact with, and less than worthless as a hunting dog.
So at that moment, Noam says, I realized I had to put her down. Noam, who also represented her state in Congress for 8 years, got her gun, then led Cricket to a gravel pit. It was not a pleasant job, she writes, but it had to be done. And after it was over, I realized another unpleasant job needed to be done. Incredibly, Noam's tale of slaughter is not finished.
And we don't even talk about the goat no more. We don't even talk about the goat no more. As a lover of animals, I want to send one out to the dog and the goat. We don't even talk about the goat. Chrissy Noam thought shooting a dog was a flex and somehow survived the confirmation process. A confirmation process that didn't dig up the fact that they don't even invite Chrissy Noam's husband to no child's birthday parties because they can't keep the balloons safe.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
He got the balloons all up through his outfit. Got kids crying because the balloons smell like man funk.
This is egregious work. This is nasty, egregious work.
Got people on the other side of 1-800-1900 numbers saying they got dirt on the head of DHS. That's what we got going on. That's what we got going on. We got a head of the DOJ who just testified today to refute the testimony of the former head of the DOJ that testified last week on who bungled the Epstein files. We got Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi playing hot potato with PDF protection.
New information now on the interviews with the former Attorney General Pam Bondi and a prison guard who was on duty the night Jeffrey Epstein died as part of this House investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. Our teams, listen, this is like tons of pages of documents here. We've got teams reading in on all of this. Remember, this is when Pam Bondi came in. She testified, answered questions behind closed doors for the Oversight Committee. So far, here's what we know. That Bondi told lawmakers that Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, is a monster who should die in prison. As for who's to blame for the DOJ's much criticized handling of the Epstein files, Bondi told lawmakers she delegated oversight to all things Epstein to guess who? Her second in command at the time, Todd Blanche. We just talked about him 10 minutes ago. He's the guy that President Trump wants now to serve as the permanent attorney general moving forward if he is confirmed by the Senate. Remember, Bondi is the one who took a ton of heat for how she handled the Epstein files before she was fired by the president.
Two things that stood out to me, at least in the Pam Bondi transcript, was who she was and was not willing to talk about. She was more than willing to talk about Todd Blanche. In fact, his name came up 96 times, although some of those were from the questioners. But she repeatedly deferred key questions about how redactions were made and how files were produced on to Todd Blanche, which is a key part of this investigation. And that's also why Democrats came out of that deposition saying we need to hear from Blanche himself.
And she only was able to head the DOJ because somehow the Republicans got in front of Matt Gaetz because apparently challenging Kevin McCarthy to shoot the fair one on the floor of the RNC was a bridge too far.
What night are you speaking? Are you speaking tonight? If you took that stage, you would get booed off of it. You would get booed off the stage.
I think it shows exactly who Matt Gaetz is.
Do you think you'd get booed off stage if you spoke here tonight?
Not at all.
You would not, because you still have a relationship with the president. You still talk to him.
Very close, yes.
Why do you think he had to do something like that?
He had an ethics complaint 4 years ago that he paid an underage girl, and she has come to ethics. And he came to me to try to leverage me to stop the ethics investigation. That's illegal. I'm not doing that. I kept government open. Think about that. I kept government open, and he tried to make a motion to remove me. I wouldn't do one thing different.
Do you think the Republican Party is more Kevin McCarthy or is it more Matt Gaetz?
Well, I would hope there wouldn't be another Matt Gaetz in the Republican Party. I mean, paying underage women, the other people who are involved in that are in jail. So, I mean, look, everybody has different people in their party. Unfortunately, Matt happens to be here. I think at the end of the day, he probably shouldn't be on the streets.
I'm assuming him wanting to throw hands with Kevin McCarthy was what did it for Matt Gaetz, because it wouldn't have been nothing about no underage girls or no impropriety, because we know how y'all be with that. All right? We know how y'all be with that. So I'm just going to assume that wasn't it.
You're damn right.
You got a head of the FBI who is steadily bringing a whole hurricane of scandal. You can't escape it like a king cobra. He on top of it. FBI Director Kash Patel has alarmed colleagues with excessive drinking and unexplained absences. Officials told The Atlantic his drinking has been an ongoing concern across the government. He's known to drink to the point of obvious intoxication, sometimes around White House staff, and morning meetings were pushed later in the day after nights of heavy drinking. That's what you got in Kash Patel now. Now, that's what you got in Kash Patel. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 locos. All 4.
Ugh. Brother,
You got RFK Jr., who we supposed to trust when it comes to our health. But he can't even be trusted to leave roadkill alone.
RFK Jr. revealed that he once pulled his family over on the side of the road after he spotted a dead raccoon to, you guessed it, cut off its genitals. So the Post's Isabel Vincent authored this new book, RFK Jr., The Fall and Rise. And in the book, RFK Jr. says, and I quote, "I was standing in front of my parked car on I-684 cutting the out of a road-killed raccoon, thinking about how weird some of my family members have turned out to be." He noted also that his kids waited patiently in the car and then later told People magazine he had collected the raccoon's genitals so he could, quote, study them later. This is notably not RFK Jr.'s first, really gruesome run-in with wildlife. His daughter, Kik Kennedy, recalled in a 2012 interview a time that her father had decapitated a beached whale with a chainsaw and then strapped the animal's head to the roof of the family minivan with a bungee cord. And of course, there is also the time Kennedy admitted to the New Yorker mag that he had dumped a dead bear in Central Park after a failed attempt at skinning it.
And don't have him in your bathroom by himself. Who knows what he's going to take up off the toilet.
And I said, I'm not scared of a germ. I used to snort cocaine off of toilet seats.
I guess that was considered a bonus. He like a everyman. Because most times they'd be like, oh, who would you want to share a beer with? But, when it comes to, Health and Human Services, is who would you want to go into the bathroom stall, at the club? Like who would you most want to be with in the bathroom at the club? That's what it is for HHS. That's what we got going on there. And they nominated this dude to take over for Tulsi Gabbard, who used to be a Democrat. But I guess that probably would have been a plus for you too, right, Trump? You know what I mean? She followed the footsteps, right? Followed the footsteps. I can see that. But somebody who establishment on both sides of the aisle had concerns about when it came to their trustworthiness and their relationships with foreign governments. Certainly that's somebody you want to put as the director of national intelligence.
This Tulsi Gabbard. This nomination is not just unwise, it is dangerous. Make no mistake, Ms. Gabbard is entitled to her own personal opinions. She can apologize for Assad or Putin or any other murderous dictator to her heart's content. But we're not considering Ms. Gabbard for some position in which her bizarre fondness for foreign despots is beside the point. She is not the nominee for Postmaster General. We're considering her for one of the most important jobs in our intelligence community. And for that, Tulsi Gabbard is a walking 5-alarm fire and must be rejected, must be.
That's the background. And you decide to nominate the same dude. Because when I heard that name, I said, Bill Pulte, that sound familiar. I said, that sound familiar. The same dude that was trying to weaponize mortgage applications against Donald Trump's enemies. Y'all remember that with Lisa Cook and the Fed? Y'all remember that? Trump said he's removing Fed Governor Lisa Cook, citing his administration's allegations of mortgage fraud. Cook, the first black woman to serve on the Fed's board, said Trump has no authority to fire her, and her lawyers said that it would file a lawsuit challenging this illegal action. And that's before we get to the irony of Trump challenging somebody and their real estate valuations.
And the legal flaw here is that statute where Congress has said you can only fire based on cause. What's the legal definition of cause? It's not a tweet.
It's not a tweet
by a Trump partisan. Can you imagine if a tweet could be the basis for breaking the law? All you need to do is ask, you want to get rid of somebody, tweet. Cause has to be proof that the law has been broken or gross misconduct on the job. What do these baseless allegations even have to do with her job? So what you see is, as Ali notes, another red line that has been breached and broken in this push towards authoritarianism. But it's one that hits Americans in the pocketbook because when you weaken the Fed, what's the reason that they had that first Bank of the United States, the second Bank of the United States, that Supreme Court opinion, this statute? Because when you weaken the independence of the Fed, you weaken the American economy.
Do you also remember that it was later illuminated that several members of the cabinet currently had engaged in the exact same behavior? Do we remember that? Do you remember it was later revealed that his own family members were found to have engaged in the exact same behavior?
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
We continue to follow this breaking news for you from New York City. The largest judgment to date has been issued against former President Donald Trump. Judge Engoron has imposed a penalty of more than $350 million against Donald Trump, as well as his adult sons and his corporation in that civil fraud case brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James. The former president is being ordered to pay more than $354 million in damages. His co-defendants are being ordered to pay another $10 million in fines. The judge has also banned the former president from conducting business in the state of New York over the next 3 years. Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. are prevented from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation for the next 2 years.
And during that video where I had discussed just how absurd this method of attack was, one of the things I said was the craziest thing about all of this is that it's not going to amount to anything. Because, see, where I come from, if you trump up charges and then under the light of day, it's found to be the exact kind of thing that you have been guilty of the people casting judgment have been guilty of, well, that's going to be a piece of baggage around your ankle now, isn't it? You don't get to do that for free. See, we live in this world now where people just get to do stuff for free, right? Trump can give you an excuse when it comes to Iran, right, about how they destroyed their nuclear capabilities, and then expect us to not hold him accountable for it when he goes back in 9 months later and says they're at the verge of nuclear capabilities. And that's just to pick one. You could just name literally anything that's come out of that dude's mouth. See, when you sell me something like that, or when you try to, and it's revealed to be the turd covered in gold dust that we have found it to be, well, that's kind of going to become what I expect to emerge from you after that. Anything else would be absurd. That's who you become. And that's how we are on an interpersonal level, right? That's how we are on an interpersonal level. Like, you got somebody in your circle, you got somebody at your church, you got somebody at your job. You know who be lying at your job. Huh? You know who be lying at your job. You know who it is. You go in there on Thursday and they talking about how crazy it was. You should have hung out. It was crazy. And then you make eye contact. Let's see where this one gonna go. Let's see where this one gonna go. You know the one that's always talking about how good things is going, and they drive the nice car, but they don't never let nobody know where they live at. Or that the car is leased. You know who it is. You know who it is. You know exactly who it is. And they could be at your church, they could be in your neighborhood, whatever the case may be. How many times did it take for them to be found out for you to get to the point where you felt that way about them? How many times did you have to? Was it like hundreds? 80, 60, 40, 20, 10.
Not 2, not 3, not 4.
It was less than 5, wasn't it? I know it was less than 5. I know it was less than 5. Because you would have to have something medically wrong with you for it to be above 5. For you not to have learned your lesson.
Billions and billions and billions and billions.
But somehow, when it comes to politics, we are supposed to be in this world where people get to press the reset button like it's a Nintendo, and you get a complete wipe. That's why I said in that video, the craziest thing about all of this is that nothing will come from it. And not only did nothing come from it, when it came to the weaponization against Lisa Cook was eventually pushed out. And now Bill Pulte is the director of national intelligence with no qualifications.
What exactly are Bill Pulte's qualifications? Does he have a national security background? The answer would be no. Does he have a military background? The answer would be no. Does he have a law enforcement background? The answer would be no. What qualifies Bill Pulte to hold one of the most important national security positions for the United States of America? One thing, apparently, that Bill Pulte is willing to say anything or do anything that Donald Trump demands, no matter how reckless, vengeful, or unlawful Donald Trump's demand may be.
So there I was, scrolling my phone to avoid weekend chores when I see this. You know what? Actually, that's the wrong one. That was for my personal enjoyment. No, I saw this. The U.S. Justice Department is seeking the names, addresses, and banking information of Reddit and X users, ratcheting up efforts to identify social media critics of government deportation efforts. So no wonder you do nothing when our personal information, phone numbers, addresses, and bank accounts are being attacked by data brokers because they want in on the game. I mean, y'all did kill a bill that would have required data brokers to get your consent before selling your information. And that's where today's sponsor, Aura, comes in. Aura does the hard work for you, constantly scanning the dark web and submitting opt-outs on your behalf. Give Aura a few weeks and you'll stop seeing your information on these sketchy sites when you search yourself. And their app includes other features like dark web monitoring, fraud alerts, a VPN, and more. Truly a great deal if you want to be more private and protected online. You can go to my link, aura.com/Reese Waters, to try 14 days for free. Again, that's aura.com/Reese Waters. That's enough time for Aura to start scrubbing your personal information off these data broker sites automatically. What you say, cut the grass? I'm still working. Yeah. Let me watch that video again. Now, here's where things get wild. Here's where things get really wild. And for those of you that have been watching the channel for quite some time, I would say get really predictable. Here's where things get really predictable. Because who is the one member of the cabinet that's been out of pocket that I haven't mentioned?
Are we doing this right now?
Yeah.
A disclosure came to light from an incident in October of 2017 where a woman accused him of assault at a hotel following a California Federation of Republican Women conference where he was a speaker. While no criminal justice charges were filed, it was revealed during the transition vetting process that this gentleman had entered into a confidential settlement agreement. There's more. As the Senate began vetting his background, whistleblowers and former colleagues came forward with allegations regarding his conduct while running veterans advocacy groups during his time at Fox News. Whistleblowers from Concerned Veterans for America, an organization he led from 2012 to 2015, described a toxic work environment fueled by heavy, problematic drinking. Reports allege that this gentleman frequently drank to excess during work hours, was intoxicated at organizational events, and had to be physically managed or carried by staff on multiple occasions. There's more.
But wait, there's more.
His management of a nonprofit veterans organization was also scrutinized for financial ethics violations. While leading a nonprofit called Vets for Freedom, he was accused of steering lucrative consulting contracts and high salaries to close friends and family members, including a substantial contract awarded to his brother. And that was all before Pete Hegseth became the Secretary of Defense. Forget what that handmade sign is that he calls himself right now. Since he decided to take over that formerly esteemed position, we have gotten the war on DEI. We've gotten the war on women. Huh? What? Say what now? FYI, the majority of white women in the military voted for Trump. You know what I mean? I'm out here trying to help y'all. I'm out here trying to help me, help you. Help me, help you.
Help me, help you.
We've gotten the war on fat soldiers who apparently aren't even invited to the UFC event. I don't know if y'all saw that. Apparently the viewership and the attendance at the UFC was lackluster. So they literally had to get people that were trying to actually serve this country to serve in the capacity of saving Trump's ego by showing up to the UFC White House event. But make sure you in shape first, though. Make sure you in shape, which really is counterproductive. You know what I mean? It's really counterproductive because you wouldn't need as many of them if you just let anybody come. You know what I mean? But see, they don't think about that. They don't think about that. So Y'all do you. Y'all do you.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Since this gentleman has been our Secretary of Defense, what we've gotten Signalgate, we've gotten Take My Wife to Work Day into classified meetings and conversations. We've gotten them consistently attacking the media for highlighting their rampant failure.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
And then, of course, we have the mess that is Iran, where apparently you just get to tell us every 6 weeks they're the verge of nuclear capability. We need to blow it up. And then swear that that attack was successful and everything was decimated. But they're going to be back on the verge of nuclear capabilities. By the end of the finals, they're going to be back. By the end of the finals, we're going to have to go back there again. You know what I mean? Hey, we going to slide the news. Hey, NBA, can you send the final 7? Can you make it go 7? Because if you make it go 7, everybody going to be watching. You know, the Knicks going to be, everybody going to be watching. We can slide it, you know what I mean?
The best 2 words in sports. Game 7.
A lot of you guys probably know exactly what happens next. Because one of the things I mentioned when it comes to this administration, you have the futility, right? You have the shame. You have the unworthiness. But one thing you also have is the audacity. The audacity.
The caucasity was astounding.
We ain't talking about qualification. We talking about the audacity. So what do we see from this administration, right? Every accusation is an admission. They know exactly how unworthy they are. And so what do? They pass that on to us. That's what they do.
He's right, you know.
Pete Hegseth strikes female and black Navy officers from promotion list. The defense secretary's decision to block the officers' promotions appears to be driven by his anti-diversity stance rather than based on merit. Wow. You mean to tell me that they are making staffing decisions not based on merit? Not the administration that just put Bill Pulte as the director of national intelligence. Now they're not doing merit. Wow. You mean the same Secretary of Defense with the worst qualifications we've ever seen, and that guy, the one who came in talking about DEI. Ain't that something?
Oh, man. Doesn't make any sense, does it? Well, no, it makes perfect sense.
In a move that disproportionately targets women and minority officers, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently blocked the promotions of 9 Navy officers who had been selected by a board of senior Navy admirals. Once again, who had been selected by a board of senior Navy admirals. The net result of Hegseth's intervention is a slate of 22 nominees to be 1-star admirals that bears little resemblance to the broader force these officers will help lead.
Man, this some more bull.
3 of the officers removed by Hegseth from the promotion list are women, and 2 are black men. An additional 4 are white men. Hegseth's actions, which appear to violate the rules of governing a promotion system that is supposed to be apolitical and merit-based, were described by 5 current and former defense officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive personnel matters. No female officers were included on the new 1-star list, which was released publicly in late May. So again, all of the women were stricken. Despite the fact that women make up 21% of the active duty Navy, the list appears to include only 2 non-white officers, even though sailors who identify as racial minorities make up about 38% of the active duty Navy. Hegseth's removal of the officers from the 1-star list is highly unusual, said the current and former defense officials. According to Pentagon rules, the defense secretary is supposed to pull officers from the list only for moral, mental, physical, or professional failings that raise questions about the officer's fitness to lead. That's interesting. So it's supposed to be apolitical and supposed to be purely merit-based, but he decides to intervene in the service of anti-DEI. Now, it's a little bit hard to push the DEI narrative, which only survives with a North Star of a merit-based society, right? It's a little hard to keep pushing that narrative when you kneecap merit-based on the way there.
So with all your Intelligence Committee experience, and now as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, and all those years of experience, have you ever, specifically in the context of the intelligence community, heard the name Bill Pulte?
In the context of intelligence?
That's what I said.
No, I have
never heard his name. Okay, thank you for answering that. Well, never even heard his name. Given all your years of experience and your position now, never heard the name. For the record, Bill Pulte is a person Donald Trump has chosen for the acting director of national intelligence with no experience in the intelligence field.
It's a little hard. You know what I mean? When you got the merit-based list, I mean, you had a whole nomination process of the people that were going to get the promoters, and you went and intervened. Now, what would have been your possible justification for intervening? I mean, the only explanation you could have for intervening would be that you don't think that they were deserving of the promotion. But they clearly did all of the work. It's going to be real hard to beat the racism and sexism allegations like this. Dare I say, impossible to beat the racism and sexism allegations like this, because this ain't even your first rodeo. Far from it.
What do I do with that strap?
There you go. Hegseth's actions are the latest in a series of firings and personnel interventions that appear to be driven by his anti-diversity politics rather than the officer's performance. Taken together, they could reshape the military's top ranks for years to come. Sean Parnell, the Pentagon's chief spokesman, declined to say why Hegseth pulled the officers off the Navy 1-star list. Because you ain't got one. Military promotions are given to those who have earned them, Mr. Parnell said. The department will never consider the color of a service member's skin or their gender as a factor in promotions. The Navy declined to comment. Among those dismissed, General Charles Q. Brown Jr., the second African-American to serve as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Admiral Lisa Franchetti, the first woman to lead the Navy. earlier this year, Hegseth also removed 4 colonels, 2 black men and 2 women from the Army's list of nominees for 1-star general over the objections of Army Secretary Daniel P. Driscoll. Driscoll insisted the officers had a long history of exemplary service and had done nothing wrong. How do you build out this narrative of this merit-based military helmed by the least qualified Secretary of Defense who serves the least qualified president?
You don't find that suspicious?
So you want me to believe in the merit-based society that uplifts Bill Pulte from mortgages to the director of national intelligence? You want me to believe in the merit-based society that has Mark Wayne Mullen heading up DHS in his free time when he stood with the plumbing?
How do you clean your garbage disposal? Well, let me show you.
That's the merit-based society that you want me to believe in. And again, just to circle back to what I said a little while earlier, when I asked you, how many times does somebody have to be caught out, right? How many times does somebody have to be revealed to have served you that turd in gold dust before you expect that that's what's going to come from them moving forward? And one of the gifts of this administration is their complete lack of savvy, their complete lack of tact, and their complete lack of the ability to cover their work. Because in the regular times, right? Because it ain't like misogyny and white supremacy was ushered in 2015. Oh, no. It's been going on for quite some time. But in the regular times, they would have at least given themselves some cover. You know what I mean? They would at least given themselves some cover. In the regular times, you say, hey, we really should reward Bill for attacking all your political enemies. And yeah, you're right. How about Director of National Intelligence? We can't do that. You know what I mean? He don't have, you know what I mean? He gonna be telling spies to take out mortgage applications. What do you know about that? Huh?
Well,
what do you know about that? You know, we got people trying to do counterintelligence, and he think it's a reverse mortgage. We can't have that. That's too hot.
no.